And we're back. What is going on, my fellow zombie slayers? I am your host, Nelly B, and this is the Zombies Radio. I'd like to thank Arya for coming back on since he has hit the big 500, the 500 subs. That's actually really crazy, man. I was going to introduce somebody else, but they were unable to make it. Hopefully next time. Today's podcast is a very special one. We're back in full force. I just upgraded my computer, ran into a couple problems with that, enjoyed Thanksgiving and got pretty sick, and now we're here. How was your break, man? Let's go over that first.
It was good. I ate a lot of food and played a whole bunch of zombies, and that was pretty much it.
It's the only way to spend your Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, the best way.
Black Ops 4. Yeah, so moving right on from that, today's probably going to be a shorter podcast, by the way. Let's just move on to the topics. So Black Ops 4, I know we talked about it last time, the updates and stuff, and every update that you guys have gotten, or for the most part, I've gotten, and now I can purchase Nebulium Plasma or whatever it is, and a whole bunch of other things, and for the most part, the complaint video that I made has been fixed. There's still obviously the main problems with Black Ops 4 that can't really be patched. But other than that, I have had a great experience. The UI isn't a problem anymore. I know that was a thing that really annoyed me. I couldn't see all of my attachments that were on, which might not be a problem for most, but I don't know what's wrong with me. It was a problem for me, you know. And Nuketown just dropped, and that's a multiplayer thing we'll get into later, but how are you liking Black Ops 4 now that the patches have settled in and Treyarch is taking things further on after all of the complaints that have happened?
I think it's been good so far. I think they've been doing a good job patching everything up. I mean, obviously, I'm not a high rounder, or I don't play the game. I mean, I don't do high rounds that often, so I can't really comment on that. I'm sure there are still a lot of issues with high rounds, but for the most part, the regular gameplay, like, you know, you jump in the game and you do the Easter egg, or you play till like round 50 or 60, I think it's been good.
Yeah. At
least for me.
Same, yeah. I didn't have any problems with the going to high rounds thing. Just, you know, the problems that I stated before were basically all that I was facing, but I have seen an improvement on that, less complaints on Twitter and on Reddit from people, but I think the game is going well. Obviously, there's some things that can change, which we could talk about if you want to, but the UI, I know, is a thing that as soon as the game dropped, as soon as there was gameplay, people were already complaining about it, and there were some things on Reddit that actually moved the UI around, like the in-game UI, and people think that they made the changes because of the elixirs. They wanted the elixirs to be more prominent, and if you were just, you know, so you didn't miss them during any part of the gameplay, and in order to make them, you know, used more, so you could buy more and stuff like that, and that could be a case. Obviously, that could be a case because they're a business, but I don't really have a huge problem with the UI in zombies. I think it's more of a problem in multiplayer because you could literally get your whole screen filled up with information, and that could cause you to die. And I know this because it's happened to me multiple times. So how do you feel about the zombies UI, at least?
I think it's okay, honestly. I know a lot of people don't like it. You know, the HUD is kind of, I don't know. A lot of people say it's like ugly and there's too much going on, and and I understand it's not like the Black Ops 3 HUD obviously looked a lot better.
Yeah.
And this HUD, it just looks a little outdated and a little weird, and it's a matter of preference, but still, I think objectively looking at it, the HUD for Black Ops 4 just doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
Doesn't look as good as it should.
Yeah, the only thing I was happy about was that they didn't completely copy and paste it from multiplayer. Even though there are some aspects you can obviously tell that are from multiplayer, that was my main problem with the Black Ops 3 one, was that it felt like an afterthought. And even though it is still better than Black Ops 4, I think like every UI could change, obviously, but Black Ops 4, I think, is the UI is the least of the problems. I just brought it up because, again, I see it mainly on Reddit a lot. People are always making prototypes and stuff of what they think would be better. And yeah, I think that always comes up to personal preference, like you said. I'm fine with it if they changed it, which I don't think they would do, because it's a little bit too late. I would be fine with it as long as it did look better, but I don't think it's that much of a problem.
Yeah, I would like to see a little bit more color variety in the HUD. Like everything is just green for some reason. I would like to see it. Maybe, throw a little bit of blue or red on there just so we can tell the difference between, when your specialist is fully charged up and the difference between that and the equipment. Exactly. And I would like a little bit of a louder maybe noise cue that, hey, your specialist is ready. I know we already get a noise cue that it is ready. I know we already have that in game, but I just feel like it's not enough because in the middle of the chaos, you kind of get lost and you just don't notice it.
True.
Yeah, maybe like it could pop a little bit more.
I notice it when like I'm done with doing everything. I've got Pack-a-Punch open and I'm just going for a high round. I'm like, oh yeah, that does make a sound. But yeah, I think they could do a better job of either making it longer or louder, because a lot of the times I don't even notice it. So it's, I don't know, that could be changed. But yeah. Any other complaints that you still have about the game? Anything that, like, even little tweaks that you think would make the game better?
Oh, a lot, actually.
You want to?
I still have a lot of issues. Do you want me to like go over everything one by one?
You can go over a couple things. Yeah.
Sure. One of the problems that I still think needs fixing, it's the number one problem in the game, it's the microtransaction system.
Yeah.
Which I talked about recently in one of my videos. But yeah, I think that needs to be tuned for sure. I think it's a huge problem, and they need to take care of it like ASAP.
Yeah.
I just don't understand, like, who the fuck do they think we are? Like, how rich do you think we actually are to be able to pay for this stuff in game? It's just nonsense. So I think that needs fixing for sure. I think in game, as we talked about, I think the HUD could use a little bit more work. Some of the Easter egg steps could be adjusted a little bit better. The perks, some of the perks could be buffed. Like a perk like Death Perception is absolutely useless in zombies, and there's no reason for anyone to use it. So I think they need to, even the fields out a little bit with the perks, because that was initially their purpose for introducing a new perk system. They wanted all the perks to be on a level playing field.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've achieved that just yet.
Yeah, there's definitely ones that are obviously better than like the one that you just said, Death Perception. Like even Quick Revive or Stamina Up. I think I was playing what was it? Origins the other day, which probably isn't a good comparison, but I think that Black Ops 4 Stamina Up is like the best Stamina Up ever because it's so good. And I think just that one alone is better than so much of the other ones. Like I don't even look at some of the other ones. I think what's it called? The mule kick one is absolutely useless once you put it into the final slot, because then it costs 5,000, and if you go down you get the weapon again, which is kind of cool, but it's not worth 5,000 points. Especially if you're trying to get the speed cola thing with all 3 perks.
Yeah, mule kick itself is useless, but the only time it's somewhat useful is actually if you put it in the last slot, because once you go down, you can have your weapon back. Yeah. But if you don't have it in your last slot, then it's kind of useless. But there are so many better perks that you can put in your last slot.
Yeah.
So Mule Kick has been rendered useless. I mean, Mule Kick has never been a super popular perk anyway.
Yeah. I mean, when it first dropped, I was kind of excited, but then I used it and was like, nah, this isn't good at all. So, yeah, I hope at least they bring Scavenger back, because that'd be a relatively easy one to do. I mean, just make Death Perception Scavenger, or I don't think it was called Scavenger, maybe it was something else, but Death Perception is already halfway there to being Scavenger. You can see zombies through walls. If they drop the little points, like if you put it in your final slot, the zombies drop points and zombie blood area type things.
Are you talking about Vulturade?
Vulturade, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I always call it Scavenger because it has the scavenger face thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that they could do a couple things with a couple perks, and Scavenger is definitely one that they should add in or tweak. Death Perception to be that. But yeah. The perks could definitely be worked on.
Yeah, they need to be tuned for sure. Some of the perks are just absolutely useless.
Yeah.
And some other perks are very useful, and I think the balance is kind of missing. And they need to work on that a little bit more to bring a little bit more balance into the system.
Exactly. Anything else you want to talk about pertaining to that?
Nothing I can think about right now. I mean, the talismans and everything we already talked about on the previous episode, so I don't think it's necessary for me to just repeat myself on that one. But
they already know how we feel about those.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, I like Black Ops 4. Over the past week, it's definitely been a better experience. Even Blackout, like I like Blackout a little bit better, but yeah, mainly zombies is definitely a better experience. I've been getting the higher rounds, actually thinking about going for Easter eggs now, all because of just the little changes that have made it a little bit more appealing. But that brings us to another segment. Black Ops 4 has gone through a lot of progression over its life cycle. So has all of zombies all together. And not just zombies, but the zombies community. And that's a little something that I wanted to talk about today, because that's the whole reason why this series has come about, is because I wanted to connect with people around, sort of my size of YouTubers and just talk about zombies and what they like about it and what they like about the community. And we haven't done that in a while. So I wanted to get your take on the zombies community. Who did you start watching? We talked about why you started YouTube already, so you don't have to get into that. But just the people that you watched before, because I know I watched a lot of oldies who aren't even in the community anymore. So I'd love to hear your opinion about that.
The one person I used to watch like all the time was obviously Milo.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked how passionate he was about the game.
Yeah.
And I kind of shared my passion. It kind of reminded me of how passionate I was. So I was like, okay. When I started watching him, I was like, okay, this guy is clearly very passionate.
Yeah.
And the community behind him was also very passionate about the game. And that kind of inspired me to start YouTube in general. And I also watched, all the other big YouTubers, the Smith Plays, Mr. T Lexify, Mr. Dalek JD, Noah J456, JC Backfire, the list goes on and on and on. There are so many great content creators in this community. It's actually unbelievable to see.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I started out watching I think it was like some custom zombies map from like what You Always Win or something like that, and then I found Two Profi Games, Laggin, and then the big hitter was the Smith Plays, because I saw just the stuff that he was doing, like map comparisons, and there were a couple other series that were like, to me, was the most dedication towards a video game that I had ever seen, which is why I watched the Smith Plays so much. And yeah, you're right. The whole zombies community, or at least up until recently, has all been very dedicated to enjoying the game, figuring things out about it, and just digging in deeper to the actual gameplay. Which is, again, why I like the Smith Play so much, because when I saw his map in-depths, those were like the first videos outside of challenges and top fives and stuff that I had seen, and he'd done those, or started those, before he started his top fives, which was pretty cool to me to see. But sadly, he's no longer with us. R.I.P. Pat.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's
Yeah.
doing much better, and I wish him the best of luck with whatever his ventures are now. But yeah.
The thing I liked about the Smith Plays was actually, my favorite thing about him was the podcast.
Yeah.
The Smith Quad podcast. I used to listen to that like all the time.
Yeah.
I probably listened to every single episode.
Really?
Yeah, I was a really dedicated fan for
I
his podcast. Yeah.
I didn't find out about his podcast actually until like a couple episodes in, and then once he moved into, I think it was the Z House, I stopped listening because it's very easy to turn me away from a YouTuber. I'm sort of like the average viewer when it comes to that. If they make one video or a few videos that I don't like, then I'm probably going to unsubscribe. But I stopped listening to his podcast because I think one of them or a couple of them were talking about Pokemon, and I like Pokemon as much as the next guy, but as soon as you start digging deeper than the show, I
You
don't.
lost interest.
Yeah, I don't understand it. It doesn't really interest me. So, but yeah, I still liked him. A few other people like Lex. When him and the Smith Plays would get on a video together, it was the most hype thing ever. Um, what else? Who else? I don't really know many people before that. I know I didn't find Noah J until like Black Ops 3, which was crazy because by then he already had like 1 million subs. And
Yeah, he got really big off of basically just streaming in Black Ops 3, like the hunts for Black Ops 3
yeah,
Easter eggs. He got really big off of that. Like his Revelations main Easter egg hunt stream had like 110,000 concurrent viewers.
Jesus.
That was he was pulling some insane numbers.
Yeah, I remember him doing the Shadows of Evil Wonder Weapon upgrade search or whatever, and
Yeah.
he had put so much time and money, and I can remember the exact day I was watching it on the big screen downstairs with my brother, and it was the day he found out that it wasn't upgradable in Shadows of Evil, and he was so pissed. It was hilarious.
I think we were all pissed to a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was like the biggest mystery in Black Ops 3 Zombies. It was everybody was trying to figure out how to upgrade the Apothicon Servant in the Shadows of Evil, and everybody was searching for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody was going harder at it than Noah J456. And
Yeah.
he was so disappointed when he heard that they took it out of the game. I don't know why. I don't understand why they took it out of the game. I don't know why they took it out of the Shadows of Evil. I don't understand. Maybe it was because it was too powerful and it had too much ammo, and they wanted to kind of rework the weapon and nerf it a little bit and make it a little bit more reasonable, and then bring it back to Revelations. Maybe that was their initial plan. But yeah, that was the biggest mystery in that game, was the Apothicon Servant upgrade.
Yeah, I think my hypothesis for it was, I think somewhere down the road of Black Ops 3, they kind of just stopped caring about the difficulty and started caring more about the user experience, how much fun it was to play at the moment, and that's why they added it into Revelations. But that also has flaws in it, because why didn't they just add it into Shadows? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be better in Shadows of Evil, honestly, because Revelations already has the Thunder Gun.
Way too easy, yeah.
Yeah, it just made the map way too easy, and the layout of the map was already, super noob friendly. So it was just an easy map, and I just think it didn't need the Apothicon Servant.
Yeah, it was a welcome addition, but I think it wouldn't really change much about it if it didn't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a video coming out soon, and you already know about this, and so does Patty, but what are some of the maps, like, how would you compare yourself to, say, maybe 3 years ago to now? What maps do you play more often now than you did back then? What weapons, what things do you think about more? Are you a completely different player from back then?
Yes, absolutely. I think just the main Easter egg quests being implemented into Zombies have helped Zombies just evolve a lot more.
Yeah.
And the community has evolved with it, right? Mm-hmm. So the high rounds, for example, are not as impressive as they used to be.
Yeah. So that's definitely true.
Yeah, the main thing right now is mostly Easter egg speedruns. That's like the big thing right now. Even though it's not as big as I think it could be, it's still a lot more prominent than just people going for high rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, back in the day, back in Black Ops 1 days, those were the days when going for high rounds was very impressive. Like, if you got to round 200 in Kino der Toten, that was very impressive.
Yeah.
But right now, it's like, oh, cool, you got to round 255 in Shadows of Evil. Well, yeah, I mean, when they eventually fix all the high round crashes, even though I'm sure people will get to those high rounds, it'll still, I don't think it will be that impressive.
Yeah.
At least to the casual players.
Yeah, I think that's more true today than any other time, because I would always try and go for the higher round, and people, I saw people like, oh, you got to round 200 on Buried? What does that matter? And even today, I think if you get past round 100, you've got some type of dedication, because I think it's the easiest map to get to round 100 on is definitely Die Rise, and I've made it to round 99, and I remember this, I think I might have streamed the beginning of it, but I was so happy, and I was like, alright, I'm done with zombies, I don't need any more zombies for today, and now it's like, I can kind of replay zombies as much as I want to, and I'll get the same feeling out of it every single time, but it's not the feeling that I would have ever gotten from getting to round 99 on Die Rise, which is, I guess comparing it is perfectly fine to say, but I think it speaks about zombies as, to me at least, that it's become more replayable, but it's also become more repetitive, if that makes any sense. I don't know. Maybe I've changed and I've just not cared as much and I just want to get to that higher level. But yeah, I think...
Yeah, I think for me, over the years, especially in the recent years with how zombies has evolved, I've turned into more of an Easter egg guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm more invested in the Easter eggs than I am in everything else. And I think the majority of the community has kind of been through the same thing. Now they're more into doing Easter eggs, the main quests, than just simply playing the maps or going for high rounds.
Yeah.
So I think that's what has basically changed the entire community's mindset. Like, back in the Mob the Dead days, people just wanted to get to a high round, and Easter eggs were like a cool side thing to do.
Yeah.
It was not the main thing to do. It was just something to do on the side. It was like the cherry on top. And now it's become the main focus of the game.
Yeah. I think that changed when people started, maybe it happened a little bit before, but when people started going for like round 100 Easter eggs, I think that's when the whole community was like, yeah, this high round thing, it's gonna whoop my ass in the long run, but this Easter egg right here, right now, is gonna get me going for a couple of days. So let me just get this done, and then maybe the high round will come later.
Yeah, I think it's also brought a lot of replayability into the game as well, because people just want to have fun doing the main quest over and over again. I know a lot of people that do that. I personally do that too. I just kind of do the Easter egg over and over again. And it's just fun because it doesn't take as long. It's not as time consuming as just going for a high round. Doing high rounds it requires a lot of focus and attention and a lot of time and effort. And it's way more difficult than just doing the Easter eggs. And I think it's just Easter eggs have kind of made it a little bit simpler for people to just enjoy the game, and while also not having to spend, 80 hours on a single run.
Yeah, I'd have to disagree, because before I've always been like a high round guy. I've been interested in Easter eggs, but I think that has less interested me even now, like coming to today, because they're harder, and I could understand why some people would like them being harder and it being more rewarding once it's done. But a lot of the steps in the Easter egg, I don't think I'll be able to do without another player. And maybe that's just me assuming. That could very well easily be the case, because I haven't really tried them with trying them over and over again. I've tried them about once, maybe twice. But I think just overall everything has been less exciting but easier to get through, because I'm not worried as much as going down. If you watch some of my like Chronicles live streams, if you saw me go down, you would understand that I have become a much more calmer player. But I think that's also helped with or hindered my experience with the game being less exciting. The game, it's not the game isn't playable. I still like playing the game, but I think the stakes are just much less higher for me, and plus I'm not going for an Easter egg every game, which is something I'll try and change. I've got a lot going on right now, but I'll definitely try it. I don't really see the appeal. If you could enlighten me, I'll gladly take it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the Easter eggs in Black Ops 4 Zombies are pretty bad. Yeah. To be fair, yeah. I think the Easter egg steps, the main Easter egg steps in Black Ops 4 Zombies on some of the maps are very poorly designed. Like if you look at the Easter egg in Blood of the Dead, I think that Easter egg is, some of the steps in that Easter egg are just horrendous. They're just very poorly designed. They didn't consider how it would affect the solo players. And they just I think they're kind of losing their touch, to be honest, when it comes to designing Easter egg steps. Or they're either that or they're just running out of ideas. I mean, the Easter egg in 9 is fine. It still has issues, like in the 9 Easter egg, the game continuously forces you to skip rounds, to just burn through rounds. Okay, you got to pick this thing up and put it in the pan and then wait another 2 rounds and go for the next step, and then you do the next step and then you got to wait another 2 rounds. And I just don't like that idea of the game just trying to artificially increase the amount of time it takes for you to do the main quest.
Yeah, that's something that irked me when I tried to do it with one of my friends. Because after that, I was like, yeah, I definitely do not want to do this again anytime soon, because it seems as though the rounds are even longer in Black Ops 4 compared to Black Ops 3, especially with more than one person. I mean, I can get to round 50 relatively quickly in a night, but going from round 30 to 31 with another player was kind of annoying, because it was like, okay, where's the last zombie? And this was when the game had a bunch of bugs, when the last zombie wouldn't, if it spawned in, its path was still kind of weird, so it might have been stuck somewhere under the map, going back and forth trying to pick which player to choose. And that's probably fixed and even better now, but back then it was just knowing that we had to keep going, just going through rounds. I was not really excited for it. And once we had ended up just getting caught on one step, we were like, yeah, let's stop. We've been at this for like 5 hours now. Let's take a break and get back to it another time. And we never got back to it. So
yeah, I think the spawns in Black Ops 4 Zombies are a little worse than Black Ops 3 Zombies, because they're more spread out. Yeah. Like in 9, if you're in the arena, the zombies can literally spawn from anywhere. Really? So it's like, yeah, they can spawn from all around the arena.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's you don't have like certain windows that they can just spawn from. It's just, they can spawn all over the place, and it kind of reminds me of the Infinite Warfare Zombies spawns.
Yeah,
they're kind of all spread out, and they can spawn all over the place. And I think that's one of the reasons why when you're playing co-op, it might take a little longer to just finish the rounds.
Yeah, I can see that. So I feel like a lot of Black Ops 4 was inspired, or let's say inspired by Infinite Warfare Zombies and World War II Zombies, and that is pretty evident from the armor thing. A couple other things, like you just said, the spawns, that's something I've noticed as well. And the more, not really aggressive, but more tuning of the spawning system, because I can tell from Black Ops 4 that it seems as though they're trying to get spawn times very, very specific with where the zombies spawn and where you are on the map. Like going from under the Ra Temple and running up the stairs, a zombie will come out of the window right at the top of the stairs as soon as you get to the top of the stairs, which is something that I think is cool, but also really messes with the gameplay. But they've obviously thought that out, and I would prefer if they took a little bit longer, but they've got it like perfectly synced, which is something that I think they've been working on for a while, so I won't really knock them too much on that. But I think just in whole, Treyarch has been more influenced by the other studios that have been making zombies, and that's something we'll get into really quick. But do you think that is a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it could be both, because the other studios did some really cool things with zombies. Like they added some really cool stuff, like, you know, choosing your starting weapon. That was a World War II Zombies thing. And they kind of implemented that into Black Ops 4 Zombies. And I think that's a positive change. I think that's a good thing. The more options, the better, right?
Yeah.
And like Infinite Warfare Zombies, I don't know what they did like with Mule Kick, how you can actually see your third weapon.
Yeah.
How you can actually determine which weapon is your third weapon, just in case whenever you go down, you'll know which weapon you're going to lose. I think that's a good thing. So they did take some inspiration from some of the things that the other studios did, but they didn't really pick up on the negative changes. Like which is good. I'm happy with that.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, like the armor system is not at all the same as the one in World War II Zombies. It's very different. Yeah.
The only thing that's really similar is the name.
Yeah. And like, you know, whenever you go into a new area in the map, you can actually see which area you're entering.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. These are like, they picked up on some really minimal changes that the other studios made, and they decided to kind of, you know, implement those changes into Black Ops 4 Zombies, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a very good thing. There's always gonna be some problems that come with it, but I think it's just taking the good with the bad. Which the bad we'll talk about in a little bit, which I have a little bit to say about that. But all in all, I think that Treyarch having sort of like I wouldn't call them a guinea pig, because they are getting their information out, or the game out there. People are playing it, and it is its own game. But I think Treyarch is also using that as kind of we'll take that, but we're definitely not going to do this thing or that thing. And I think Treyarch noticing the little things like adding Mule Kick, which is a little thing, but if you think about it, over the years it has become sort of a bigger thing for me. I don't use Mule Kick anyways, but when I do use it, it's good to know that I know which weapon is the Mule Kick weapon.
But yeah, it's a small change, but it's good that it's there.
Things like that. Also, you reminded me, going into the area, knowing which area you're in is very helpful. I like that they took that definitely. From. Was that I know that was a World War II thing, but did that start in IW?
No, I'm pretty sure it started in World War II Zombies.
Okay. But I think what they took from the games are a few of the small great things that I was hoping it would be in Black Ops 4. But moving on, I think for the player, just looking at the aftermath, when you release a game and people are playing it, I think it sort of doesn't help the community, because Alex talked about this when they announced it. It just fatigues people, and I could completely see how that would be. I could completely see how that would affect people, but I think IW, in my personal opinion, was a great example of how fatigue isn't really going to be a problem here, because even though IW was so much similar in a lot of ways than I would like to admit that to like Black Ops 3 or any other zombies game, I liked it, and it going from IW to Black Ops 3 wasn't a hard transition. It wasn't like, oh, we got to go do this again. IW was more of a fun thing and sort of just a unique experience for some maps, and then going to like Black Ops 3, just level grinding and stuff like that. It was a completely different experience for me anyways. With what were some of the maps? Raven the Redwoods, I really like that. I like the first map, Zombies in Spaceland. But I think World War II took that in a different direction and kind of made, in my personal opinion, from what I saw, made every map look like a very dark and low contrast Gorod. And I don't think I could play World War II as much as some people have played it and still like zombies as much as I do.
Yeah, the problem with World War II Zombies is that they decided to add a gimmick to the game mode. So they were like, okay, we're gonna make this zombies game a horror zombies experience. It's gonna be like a horror survival game mode.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is now you have a gimmick, and now you have to commit to your gimmick,
Yeah.
and you've limited yourself to that specific genre of maps, and now you're gonna have to stick with that gimmick, and you can only do the same thing so many times before people start to actually get tired of it.
Yeah.
So we got dark and scary after dark and scary after dark and scary map, like over and over and over again. And I feel like that kind of I don't know, it was kind of wearing people out. Like they just didn't want to play a dark and gray map anymore. If you compare the Final Reich to the Darkest Shore, like what really is the difference?
Yeah. Other than the map layout.
Yeah, one map is like, it's scary and covered in fog, and the other one is scary and covered in snow. So there's not really that much difference there. It's just that you have to stick to the gimmick, therefore you can't really go in too many different directions. What Treyarch is doing that's good is that they're leaving their options open, so that way they could go anywhere. Like they could go to Egypt, they could go to Greece, they could go to Rome, they could go to all these different places. Infinite Warfare Zombies did the same, but they did it in kind of a cheap way where, it's a movie, it's like the idea of it wasn't just appealing. It just wasn't as appealing as, interdimensional time travel.
Yeah. I don't know. I disagree with that because I can wholeheartedly say that I like movies a lot more than I like video games, and that's something that I can talk about a different time, but I like the whole thing about that. I could definitely see how it would be from some people's perspective, be very cheap and lowballing people by just saying, oh, it's a different movie. I can get that, but I think how they did it and just the scenery of each map is so different for me personally that I think it worked the best it could with what they were given. It could have definitely been better. A lot of the maps could have been better. A lot of the Easter eggs could have been better, and just the whole game could have been better. But I think what they did with what they had was perfectly adequate for me, and I will definitely be playing it again. So,
yeah, I mean, what I was basically trying to say is, in terms of like storyline wise, like if you're looking at it from a storyline perspective,
yeah,
the story of just people traveling between different dimensions and time traveling, I think it's a little bit more appealing than just people, this is all a movie. I think the visuals were great in Infinite Warfare Zombies. I think they worked. The map layout and everything was fine. The problems that existed in Infinite Warfare Zombies were more in the game itself rather than the maps. I think the maps were fine, but the game itself just wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
But still, they did the best with what they had, and I think Infinite Warfare Zombies overall was a success. Like, it has a fan base behind it.
Yeah.
I think it was a success overall.
Yeah, I should probably clarify something too for everybody who doesn't know me as well as I know myself. I'm a more like aesthetically and visually focused person, which is why I would prefer PC over, console, because you have more flexibility and you could do more things with that. But I focus more on like the visual presentation of things and how things are shown, not told. And if something in the storyline, like I figure it out on my own. It's already out there and everything, but I figure it out on my own because of me just playing the game, and I don't have to listen to the dialogue or anything like that. I think that is beautiful. It has its place. But yeah, that's just where my bias comes from. I like things that are visually pleasing, and then the technical aspect comes next, and then after that, the storyline is kind of the cherry on top of everything.
Yeah, I think for me, gameplay is definitely the first thing.
Yeah.
Gameplay has to be good. Like, if you look at the storyline in World War II Zombies, if you really dig deep, you could probably find some really, really cool stuff in there.
Yeah,
Like there could be some
definitely.
stuff that's incredibly cool to find, and it's very, it could be very appealing to the audience. But I think where the game really suffered was the overall gameplay choices that they made.
Yeah.
Right, the gameplay design just wasn't really up to par with other zombies experiences that we had gotten so far. So I think that's where that game kind of was a little bit lackluster. It was just the gameplay,
Yeah.
but story wise it was good, and that's one of the reasons it didn't do as well as it could. If you compare that to Infinite Warfare Zombies, in terms of storyline, it has literally nothing to offer.
Yeah, it's very bland. I looked into it and I was like, I'm so glad I'm not a big storyline guy, because I would have gotten bored really quick.
Yeah, it not only is the story not appealing and not interesting, the story just doesn't make sense. The characters do things that just doesn't make sense. And the characters contradict themselves.
Yeah, towards the end it gets very cliche too, with basically everything Willard Wyler says when he's being dragged out of the movie theater is very just tropey stuff. Yeah,
super vague. It was just very like, it was overdone at that point.
I don't know, up until that point I kind of liked it, because I knew from the very beginning, oh, there's freaking clowns and we're in an amusement park and we've got David Hasselhoff over here controlling the music. I knew it wasn't going to be very serious and wasn't going to, I was hoping for something much more, but again, I was still let down with what we were given at the end.
Yeah, I think gameplay wise, Infinite Warfare Zombies did well, and I think when it comes to just casual zombie killing, Infinite Warfare Zombies actually did really, really well. But in terms of story, it was just not good.
World
War II Zombies, with World War II Zombies, it was kind of the other way around. With gameplay, it was a little lackluster, but with the story, they did a little bit more with that.
So my consensus about the 3-year thing is, I wish that every studio would take equal consideration in it and feel about it, take the same pride in doing it as every other studio. Obviously, there's going to be things that are more focused on by other studios, but I wish they all had the same consensus that Zombies is its own community and Zombies is going to do what Zombies does. So we need to focus on every aspect as equally as much, because for the same amount of people that like to go to high rounds, I think now there are the same amount of people that like to go for the Easter eggs or like to think about the story or, stuff like that. And I think they all need to be equally worked on, and that would be obviously a perfect game. But yeah, I think just the whole 3-year timeline thing, it does have its benefits, but I think it wears the player out and the user out. It's great for the studios, because then they can just, take ideas and change them as they wish. But yeah, I think all in all, it hurts the player.
Yeah, so your final consensus would be that it should be done?
I don't think I could say that, because I think the situation, again, is much more nuanced. Maybe if they just had more people on Treyarch, the Zombies team, I think maybe that would work, but that's a whole nother situation. I think one other studio should do it. I think one other studio should be able to have the privilege to do Zombies, and the other studio is left to, focus more on other aspects or create a whole different mode, which I would be perfectly fine with.
I think the other studios are perfectly capable of making a good Zombies game. I really do. There are some really capable people working at Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer Studios, I'm sure. But I think if they're going to do it, they need to push the boundaries. Yeah. I don't think they should stick to the formula. I think they need to change it up and just mix it up and just bring in a lot more new stuff. Like with the new perk system, that is a change that we see in Black Ops 4 Zombies. That's something that Infinite Warfare Zombies could have done. That's something that World War II Zombies could have done. They could have just reworked that entire system and made it their own. But they didn't go that direction, and it's kind of disappointing. Also, I wouldn't mind seeing them bringing in new game modes.
Yeah.
like other game modes other than zombies.
Yeah.
I think Infinite Warfare could definitely Infinity Ward could definitely bring back Extinction, which is a game mode that I haven't really played as much as I would like to. But I think it does have a fan base. As small as it is, I think people did play it and enjoy it, and I think they could bring it back.
I loved it. I thinking about it now, yeah, I really liked it. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Basically what I was saying though is that, like, if one other studio did zombies and another studio did something else, all studios were just like, okay, we're gonna do what we're gonna do, and we're gonna have this second game mode, whether it be zombies or not. I think every studio could benefit the same way that Treyarch is doing, because I think when I don't think they think this, I think this is, this is what I think, is that when they step up to the plate, they're like, okay, now it's time for the big boys. We're going to take everything that they did and do it better. And that's just my opinion, because I think that whatever Infinity Ward or Sledgehammer did before is not null and void, but it's miles behind what Treyarch has been doing and what they're going to be doing, I think. But there is definitely a benefit from every studio doing what they think is going to make the game better, and every studio can benefit from that studio's mistakes and new ideas.
Yeah, I think if Infinity Ward tried to actually consider Treyarch as a competition, I think we would get a better game. Like, they would literally try to outdo Treyarch. If they would literally try to outdo Treyarch, I think we would get a better game, because, competition just makes you better at what you do. And I think they're just not doing that. They're so focused on trying to differentiate themselves from Treyarch that they're just not looking at what they're doing and trying to improve on it. They're just trying to do their own thing.
Yeah.
While still sticking to the same formula. And it's kind of like, I've used this analogy before. It's like, with Treyarch, you get a certain flavor of ice cream. But with Infinity Ward, you get the same flavor of ice cream, you just get less of it. You just get less of the same thing. Because the formula is the same.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think they should do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they would be absolutely successful if they tried to do so.
Yeah, I think making Extinction more of a, I don't even know, what would it be, horde-based game mode, instead of, I think having what they did was, take out the hives and stuff. I think that's a good idea. I think that has its own place in mode, but I think making Extinction more of a horde mode and mixing it in with the hives and something like that, I don't know. It's very technical and stuff, but I think that Extinction could work much better than Infinite Warfare Zombies could, because it already has a fan base. It's already got its own little niche place out there on the internet. But I think that it could be made even bigger with the things that they did for Zombies, and they just made it Extinction.
What did you think about the combination of Extinction with IW Zombies?
Beast from Beyond?
The Beast from Beyond. What did you think of that?
It was cool at first, but I don't like it. I don't think it's good.
Yeah, me neither.
I think the mixing of the cryptids and the zombies is just too confusing for most, even for myself. I wasn't keeping up on the storyline that much until Beast from Beyond, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? So
yeah, I think they messed it up storyline wise as well. I haven't looked too deep into that, but I think storyline wise they messed up the canon in Extinction, and also gameplay wise, I don't think it blended well with Zombies.
No, not really.
Yeah, it didn't mesh well at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish for a different map for the last IW map, because it kind of just felt like Revelations all over again. Like, oh, this would have been so cool if you had just done it in a completely different way.
Yeah, but they pulled the discount Revelations at the end there.
Yeah.
I think they could have done better with that for sure.
Yeah, I think all three studios have something to learn from each other, and I think they should all be able to make a zombies mode, but I don't think they all should make a zombies mode, if that makes any sense. We're rounding about towards the end here, and I think the best thing to end off with is, how do you think that the rest of the Black Ops 4 life cycle is going to go? Do you think we're going to get more than 4 zombies maps? Do you think that the story is going to have a even bigger twist than in... Could it even be considered a twist of Revelations? I don't know.
I don't think we'll get any more twists. I mean, I do think we'll get more twists in the Ether storyline. I don't think it'll be towards the end, because I think they're just gonna focus on wrapping it up.
Yeah.
For Ether story, and they're obviously gonna do a lot of confusing and crazy stuff with the Chaos story as well. But I think as far as the Ether storyline goes, I think it's about time that it ended.
Yeah.
I think we're getting there. And I think that's one of the reasons why they introduced the Chaos storyline, is because they're trying to kind of phase it out and make that transition a little bit more feasible. So that way people kind of, so that people will, keep tuning in for the Ether story, while at the same time building up an interest for the Chaos storyline as well.
Yeah.
So I think the Ether story will end. I don't think we'll get more than 4 maps. We might get a DLC 5, although I don't know how likely that is.
That's also something that I wanted to talk about. Because it's this zombies with the DLC and the launch is kind of sort of weird, because we just had come off of Black Ops 3 that got Zombies Chronicles, which was amazing, and if they did it again, I wouldn't mind at all. But we got 4 maps at launch, and from the leaks, I heard a couple things about them, and they said that it was the Chaos storyline that was coming up first for DLC 1, which I don't mind, but it just... I kind of would have hoped for, like, 2 DLC maps in maybe a little less at launch. I think that would have been better. Like, maybe we got, say, Blood of the Dead and 9. Even throw in, what's it called? Voyage in there as well, but save Classified for a little bit later with DLC 1, or maybe like a quick surprise for the people who have the Black Ops Pass right before DLC 1. But yeah,
I think 9 should have been a DLC 1, to be honest.
True.
Yeah.
Maybe that was supposed to be DLC 1, because it does happen after Voyage. But I think it was a good thing that they added that in at the beginning, because it leaves a lot more room for people who don't really care about, the stories at hand, or the newest story. Like I said, for the people who want to level up or just chill and play, I think that's a great map for that. But I could see it being a DLC 1, like the Horizon Drac.
Yeah, I mean, the DLC 1 map has to be pretty good.
Yeah,
right. I think
what's the point of coming back?
Yeah, I think DLC 1 can make or break a zombies DLC cycle. Yeah. So, man, DLC 1 better be good. So that's all I'll say on that topic.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, I wish for 2 maps for DLC. Maybe that's a thing that they'll do in the future. But I think that's a really good model, because
that's a great model.
Yeah,
which I think it's a little unlikely, to be honest.
Yeah, but I could understand having 2 maps launch every couple of months being a very hard thing. Even like Aftermath, trying to fix a bunch of bugs that they might have missed or looked over or stuff like that. Like, even this launch was kind of bad. It's okay now, but it would take those 2 maps a while to be able to actually be playable if there were anything seriously wrong with them. So I think it's good that they don't do it now, but I hope that some studio does that in the future, where it's like, yeah, you like this mode a lot, and this is the only reason why you're here, so here's some more of it. But
yeah, I think in DLC 1, if we get one map and a new game mode, that would just be perfect.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. People are also talking about Nuketown Zombies coming, like a remastered Nuketown from Black Ops 2, which I would absolutely love. It would be very welcomed, and I would try to get to round 100 on it as soon as possible. But I think that's only a big hope for the community right now. It hasn't been clarified anywhere from any, actual credible sources. So that's just a rumor now. How do you think about that? Would you want a Nuketown remastered?
Sure, I'll take it.
More than
I'm not gonna say no to a Nuketown Zombies map. Nuketown was never like my favorite map, but I liked it. I really did.
It was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And if they do remaster it, I think it'll be good. But the thing that I'm worried about is that I think we're getting too many remastered maps. Like, we got Mob the Dead remastered, we got 5 remastered, and now we're getting Nuketown.
True.
I think we need a little bit more new stuff than... Yeah.
I could see that. Maybe they go the route of the newer Nuketown, or maybe Black Ops 3, and I don't know, just changing the layout a bit. I think that's the best thing that could come from that. But yeah, I think we're just about done here. We have the future zombies. We hope everybody hopes that it's going to be great and it's going to bring people back and it's going to be awesome. But that's not a certainty, so we'll just wait on that. Nuketown Zombies hopefully coming. If not, it's whatever. But if it does, then it's very well welcomed. And Black Ops 4, it's doing great. It's doing much better than it was even last week, and I think most people can agree about that. And for the final topic, this is the big one, Arya.
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything to plug?
Not really.
Too late. We're out of time. No, go ahead.
I have a whack YouTube channel. I upload stuff every now and then. Just go watch my shit. It's Arya 316
on screen, down in the description, probably a pin comment too.
Follow me on Twitter. Do all that. We'll put that in the description as well. I love talking to you guys about zombies, just overall with everyone. I just like talking about zombies in general. So just hit me up on Twitter and say, yo, Arya, what's your favorite map? And I'll say Transit, and we'll have an argument that will last days.
Yeah. Anyways, definitely check him out, guys. He's been a good friend of mine for the past couple of weeks, I would say. Yeah. Couple months actually. Yeah. Months. And it's been great to have him on. We're gonna hopefully have another person on here. Unlike them, I'm a very how would I say it? Lazy person. Okay. I still have a lot going on, but we'll try and get these out as much as possible and try and have a better schedule in the future. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it. Thanks for coming again, Arya. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
Of course, man. And that's gonna be the end of that. Peace, guys.
Peace out, you freaking nerds.